to Menopause Morph, your time to change. We're here to help you thrive through your menopause, bringing you experts in many fields to help you from perimenopause to menopause and beyond to become the strong, vibrant woman nature intended you to be. Hosted by Pauline McCarthy of the Pearls of Pauline, pearls of wisdom, compassion, and joy.
Hello, welcome to this week's Menopause Morph. Today we have a lovely lady, Sue Legacy. She is a licensed clinical social worker and psychologist in private practice. She is the author of 2 books about finding joy. The Joy of Nada, a humorous memoir of self-discovery, and The Joy of Anxiety, transforming your worry to wonder in the second half of your life. Her speciality is helping people in the second stage of life find more joy and meaning in their lives, even with all the anxieties and worries of our daily life. She has a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio called The Joy of Anxiety. Sue lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with her husband of 26 years and her 2 Chihuahua mixed dogs, Nada and Todo. Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Pauline. It's good to be here.
I really like the name of your dogs, Nada and Todo. Is that something to do with living in New Mexico, the Spanish?
You know, it works well in New Mexico, but they were actually named in Texas, which is where we're from.
Okay.
Nada because she's a little bit of nothing, and Toto because I wanted her to be the reflection of him. So it's a little bit of all and nothing.
Okay, that's great. And so you help people with their anxiety. I think a lot of menopausal women suffer from anxiety and low self-esteem and things like that. Before we get into what you're going to tell us, could you just tell us a little bit about your menopausal experiences?
Specifically, my menopausal experiences.
Like symptoms, and what was your worst symptom? Was it hot flushes? Was it memory loss? Was it wanting to kill your husband with a knife?
It was all of the above, and I had really bad PMS. I started my menstruation at 11. Wow. And I didn't stop until I was 55. So for 40 or however many years that is, I had 10 days of cravings and bloating and moodiness and crankiness and grouchiness. It was really, really awful. And cramps. I also had really bad cramps. Yeah. So when I got closer to perimenopause, they kind of ramped up. And I talked to my doctor and I said, is this menopause or what is this? What am I in? I'm still getting my period, though not as often. And they said, this is called perimenopause. And it's probably worse. To me, it's worse than menopause because it's that leading up to you finally getting rid of it. But I had terrible symptoms and I used herbal tinctures. I finally decided to use bioidentical hormones. And when I did for 4 years, I felt normal, but it was so unusual because I had anxiety all my life. Yeah. So, and these symptoms. So the hormones made me feel normal and feel actually good about life. So I thought I better go off of them. This doesn't make sense to me. I don't know about this. So, but it was tough. It's tough. And I still have hot flashes, but not nearly as badly as they used to be.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
63.
Oh my goodness. And you look younger than me. Oh no. Tell me your secret.
Well, maybe it was those hormones I took for 4 years. My mother's family just was very, they took a lot of vitamins and supplements and very alternative remedies. And they all looked really young. They aged well.
Yeah.
That's all if it's anything, it might be that, genetics.
Okay. And do you think it could also have a lot to do with the fact that you have learned to cope with anxiety or make it joyful?
It could be. I really will say it could be because I felt when I was going through menopause and the perimenopause, I felt so old. I felt like I looked really old. I was always in this down state and trying to feel better. But when I realized that it's not an either or, and you could actually find joy in your anxiety, that was quite a transformation for me. So yeah, it might have something to do with that.
Okay, so I'm very interested to find out how you help people with their anxiety.
Well, what I do is I help them focus and pinpoint where it's coming from. What's going on with them? Are they dwelling in the past? Do they have past regrets like, if only I had done this or if only I hadn't done that? Sometimes we don't realize that our past is affecting us. Mm-hmm. So I help them just figure it out if that's what's going on. Or I help them figure out if they have these future worries like, well, they're always concerned about the future and what if this happens or what if that happens? All the possibilities of things that could go wrong. Because really, if we stay in the past or we're worried about the future, there is no joy. What we're trying to do is control our lives. Anne Lamott, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She writes books. She's just a great author, but she says, forgive all hope. When we worry about the past and we're trying to change it, we forget and forgive all hope of having had a better past. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like, I heard a quote one time about, if you're just thinking in the past, you're carrying all that baggage with you, and that's like really heavy. So just drop it, and make your life lighter.
Exactly. And I think that when people learn how to drop it, how to forgive themselves for things that they wish they hadn't done,
yeah,
and also forgive other people, they can feel lighter, and that's where they find joy. You can't find it when you're stuck back there. So I also help them with realizing we can't control the past or the future. And the serenity prayer is something that I really offer my clients all the time. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah. It's really quite important, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know this philosophy, not to worry about the past, but sometimes we forget what we know is the right thing to do, and sometimes something happens. One of the strangest things I've experienced was when I was having these night sweats, which unfortunately they have started coming back recently because I stopped taking these bioidentical hormone supplements. They wasn't exactly medic from the doctor, but I was taking over-the-counter stuff that had really been helping, and they had run out of it. And so for 2 weeks I had none of this stuff, so I started it today. But anyway, so when I was having these hot flushes, I would wake up in a panic, in an absolute panic, and it was like, it was, I sometimes I couldn't remember what I was panicking about, but it was something like, if I don't pay this bill, I'm going to lose my house, or, it was irrational, and I had to come to terms with it. And at the time when I first started perimenopause, I was in a very difficult financial situation, so I just thought, this I'm just stressing about things that are really stressful,
Right.
But there was one time when I woke up and it was about, I really needed to contact this guy or some disaster would happen in the world. And then I realized that this guy was actually the ex-husband of a friend of mine, and he'd had been having an affair with somebody, and me and some friends, we'd been talking about it online, about this, and I haven't seen this guy for about 20, 30 years. And I thought, how has he got anything to do with a disaster in my life? And I thought, this is just my brain. It's like I was dreaming about something and it's become a nightmare, and I've woken up, so I had all this anxiety about things. And ever since I realized that it's my brain is just overheating and just turning a dream into what feels like reality. And then,
it was really,
So
yeah,
now
like a mixture.
It still happens, this last couple of weeks it's been happening. And then I just say to myself, Pauline, you're just having a nightmare. There's nothing wrong. Just go and have a shower, cool down. And, but when you don't know, then it's a terrible, terrible anxiety, feeling of distress and scariness, isn't it?
Very much so, because it's the unknown. We don't know what's causing it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, during that time, our memory can go, we get confused. Just like you're talking about, we kind of mix reality with our dreams.
Yeah.
We go, did I dream that, or does that really happen? I mean, it's scary. It's a scary time. Do you find that the hormones were helpful? They could help that give you clarity?
I found it was a situation where I didn't realize how much it was helping me until I wasn't taking it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was very glad that they had it in the pharmacy yesterday.
Yes. Oh, good.
And but the more I've been hearing about the benefits of bioidentical hormones prescribed by the doctor, I'm definitely going to go and talk to my gynecologist about this. The only problem is I don't know if it's available in Iceland. Iceland is I don't know if you know, it's a really, really small country. We only have 320,000 people living here. So there's a lot of things we can't get here.
You know what you might be able to do? They have online pharmacies, and the bioidentical hormones are made up. They make them up in the pharmacy. So they may be able to do that and send them to you.
That is an option. So that might be an option. In future episodes, I'll talk to people about this and let them know, but just in case there are others in very small countries that can't get these things.
Yes.
Because when you testified there that you took them for 4 years and it really, really helped you.
It really helped.
Uh-huh.
In fact, because what I had heard, the research that I read said if you take them 4 to 5 years close to before and after your menstruation stops, that's the safest time to take them. That way, the cancer, as far as worry about getting cancer, it's lessened a great deal.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've heard that about traditional hormone replacement therapy, but I haven't heard that about bioidentical hormones. I think what I've been reading about it just recently is that there hasn't been much research done in that respect, but the stories that doctors are hearing from their patients are very convincing. I haven't heard any people really worried about bioidentical hormones. It seems to be more the hormones that are made from pregnant mare's urine. That is
synthetic.
Synthetic. That is
Right.
causing concerns about health things with heart and cancer and things like that.
Right. Well, one of the things my doctor told me, my gynecologist, I said, what I need to know is, are the risks the same with synthetic hormones and bioidentical? And she said, I'm afraid they are. And that really concerned me. I thought, well, no, and I'm not sure if that's really the case.
I don't think
but
that is the case from what the experts here have been telling me. But what I will do is I will get somebody on to speak specifically about bioidentical hormones, and I will ask them that question.
Great question.
The question about what is the difference between the synthetic one and the natural bioidentical in regards to health worries.
Risks.
Yeah, health risks. So I think that's really, really important to know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I will keep you posted on that, and all our listeners.
Great. I look forward to it.
So we are diverging, as I always do. Welcome to my kitchen. Have a cup of tea, talk about all the problems of the world. So can you give me a typical example of how you help somebody with anxiety? Like say I came to your to talk with you, and I would say, okay, my anxiety is I'm scared to fly. And my husband wants to go on a trip, and I live in an island in the middle of the Atlantic, and so the only way out is by boat or ship, and it takes a week to travel on the boat. So how will I get over my anxiety to fly? Is it something like that you would help people with? Or
that would be a phobia. And if it just started, they hadn't been scared to fly all their life, and now all of a sudden they are, I would delve into that. I would say, well, tell me about your past. When did this start? When did this, begin? But if you really didn't have much experience flying on a plane and you got to go from one country to the next and you're just afraid of the whole idea, then I would probably say, let's try something called tapping.
Oh, yes.
And tapping is, Nick Ortner has the book called The Tapping Solution. And also Roger Callahan was, I think, one of the first to really figure out that if you tapped on certain meridians of the body in a certain way, that you could get relief from almost anything, pain, physical pain, anxiety. So I probably try that because it's simple, and I would go through it with them. There's a formula, and I just, look into the book for phobias for flying, and we would go through it together, and often that helps with just a few sessions.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this EFT, they call it, isn't it?
Right, emotional freedom technique. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you on another time, and you can talk us through that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'm not going through menopause. I'm not going through menopause.
Well, you have to. Well, what it is, you have to really go, I am going through menopause and I hate it. But you have to go, I hate this. This is driving me nuts. I feel like strangling somebody, my neighbor, and I feel like kicking the dog. But so you have to get to the true what you're really saying to yourself.
Yeah. Because
that's how you get it out. So yeah, it would be fun to have a session like that.
And before we started the recording, we were talking about negative self-help talk, and that's kind of related to what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So how do you help people with that? Because that a lot of us would do that. It's like you bang your toe and you say, "Oh, I'm an idiot for doing that."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. We all do it. But what helps is when we recognize what we're doing, when we realize what we're saying to a small, when something small happens, like, we bang our toe or we trip over a chair and we go, God, I can't believe I did that. I am such a jerk. I'm an idiot. Like you said.
I'm a klutz. Yeah.
But realizing that you say that, because that can really affect your day, the way you feel about yourself. So the first step is identifying what you say to yourself. And then you can see how most of the thoughts that you have are unfounded, and you challenge them. Every time they come up, you go, oh, there I go again. I'm not good enough. I'm the worst person in the world. I'm an awful person, for that comment I made when I got grouchy with my husband. But you have to challenge it, and then you can learn to reframe it and say, okay, this is not the case. I'm not a bad person. Because saying you're a bad person is really about shame. That's really about shame. If we say, I did this, I wish I hadn't done that. I did that wrong. I'm going to do it differently next time. That's guilt over something we did. But if we say, I'm a bad person for doing that, then that's shame. And we have to really challenge that and reframe it, or the shame will just stick to us.
There's one that I do often, and I don't. It's not even just self-talk. I actually say it out loud. It's because I have a really bad lower back, and I always, my back's killing me. And I do. And when I was talking, I think I'm saying, why am I telling me my back is killing me? I don't want to die. It's like, so.
That's beautiful example. My back is killing me.
What should I do in a situation like that? What would be better for me to tell myself?
Well, what's the truth of the situation?
My back is hurting. Okay. My back is really, really hurting. I want to strangle somebody.
Yeah. What can I do? To keep from strangling someone? Well, I think your back is hurting. I think it's really important for us to say to our body knows when we're in pain, right? Yeah. And we know, we think it. So it's okay to go, my back really hurts. And what can I do about it? How can I look at this like, how can I treat it without saying it's killing me? Because when you say it's killing me, it does something to your psyche. Yeah. Right? It just pulls you down. So you just have to say, okay, I'm going to figure out what I can do about this, whether it's take an aspirin or, do an exercise.
They say that the pain is the body's way of telling us that something is wrong.
Right.
So what about if I said something like, my body is telling me to take a break and get up from the computer and stretch?
That would be wonderful.
Or say,
that would.
This pain, or like, my body is telling me it's time to take a break and take the dog out for a walk.
Yes. I think that's beautiful, Pauline. Yes. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. Kind of like a distraction, too. Because in a way, that's what it is. I need to take care of myself. And how do I do that? Well, I get up, I move into a different position, and I go take the dog for a walk.
Because I find that if I'm on a deadline and I'm sat at the computer, my back tends to get worse, because I can be sat at the computer for 10 hours, which is not very good.
No, it's not very good. So, and you know that you have to get up and take breaks. So,
So now I know that my back is not trying to kill me. My back is trying to warn. No, I was going to say warn, but that's quite a negative kind of word as well, isn't it? My back is trying to inspire me to get up and move around and be aware of other parts of my body. My back doesn't want to be selfish. It wants to share the feelings with all the rest of the body.
Share the joy with the rest of the body.
I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to make lots of jokes. I'm going to have a dialogue with me and my back. How are you doing today? I'm doing fine. Did you know that I was here today?
Yeah, why not?
You spoke quite loudly to me today.
Well, they say it when we're feeling nervous or we're feeling excited or we have a feeling that we don't like or we're sad or we're grieving. It's important to say it. Just almost say it out. You can say it out loud, unless you're around people that might think you're going through a menopausal episode. You can say, I'm feeling really sad right now. And when you say it out loud or to yourself and to your body knows you are. Mm-hmm. But that's how you will release it or get to what else you're saying to yourself, which is probably, I'm sad because I made a mistake and I just feel terrible about it. And, so it's okay to say, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm hurting. My back is hurting. And I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling nervous. Because that's how you work through it.
I suppose it's true. It's like, if somebody hurts us, we want them to apologize to us, and if we hurt somebody, we apologize to the person, but we don't apologize to ourselves.
Yeah. And that's the first person we really need to do it to.
Yeah. I mean, you hear of people saying, forget, the last person for you to forgive is yourself, but actually to apologize as well. Apologize is a little bit different than forgiving, but I think it's just as important, isn't it?
It's just, it's really the first step. Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to do that.
My teenage boys, when, I'm not, nobody's perfect, and sometimes, I'll be a bit, especially if my back is in a lot of pain, I'm like really grumpy, and they'll say something, and I'll go, and they just like, freak out, and they, go away, and then after a few minutes, I realise, I really hurt their feelings, and I'll go down to the room, and I'll say, and they look at me, and it's like, oh, she's coming to tell me off again,
Yeah.
And I says, no, I'm here to apologise. What? And I says, I spoke out of line. I says that I was very rude to you, like this. And sometimes, especially my younger one, but sometimes the older ones well, they have tears in their eyes just for the very fact that I have apologised. And I've acknowledged and honoured them, and I said, you didn't deserve that. You didn't. It was completely my fault. You did nothing wrong. It was, I was irritated because of my back problem or whatever. And you just happened to come at the wrong time when I was just at the breaking point. I says, and you got the brunt of it, so please forgive me. Will you please forgive me? And then they're into, oh yes, Mama, I'll forgive you.
Well, parents, we don't usually do that. Parents don't usually do that. And that's why it's so touching that you could say that. And it made you feel better too.
Yeah.
As well as him.
I have such a really, really good relationship with my boys, and even with their friends. And sometimes their friends will say, oh, Pauline, and they tell me all their problems in life, and I'll say, why don't you talk to your own mum like this? Oh, I could never talk to my mum like that. Oh, she'd freak out or do this or like that, It's like, so I'm a little bit like an agony aunt,
Agony aunt.
I think for me, it's really, really important to be honest and be vulnerable, and to be, because, if somebody hurts us, speaks out of turn or shouts at or something, we want them to apologise to us. So if we expect somebody to apologise to us, it's completely fair for us to go and apologise to them.
Right. And the thing about vulnerability, being vulnerable, when we're vulnerable and we express our emotions and we're just kind of let it out and let it be known, we're honest about it, that's how we get to our joy.
Yeah.
We can't really do it unless we are. So what you did with your son, I don't know. Does that bring you joy at some?
It does. It makes me feel human, because I'm not pretending to be perfect. I think sometimes we try to pretend to ourselves we're perfect, But it brings me joy to see my sons happy again, because if I hadn't went and apologised to them, they'd just be going, oh, she's a grumpy old menopausal woman, like this, or from stories that I hear from other kids about talking about their mothers and their fathers in really bad, negative way. They never apologise, never do this, And of course, I would hate for my sons to be talking to other people in a negative way about me. But what I feel is like I'm teaching them how to behave as adults, as mature adults, so that if they behave badly to other people, shout or be aggressive or something like that, they have the courage to say, well, if my mum can apologise to me, I can apologise to this person that I shouted at. And as a mother, that's when I get my joy, knowing that I'm educating my boys to be really good, responsible people in society.
Yeah, you're being a role model to them, and they see that. They take that with them.
Ah, the joys of motherhood.
Yes, the joys of motherhood.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm coming down from I was going to say a high of empty nest syndrome. I don't know if it was a high, but it was really extreme last week. So now I'm getting to the stage where it's like, oh, I feel okay. They'll be fine. It's really quite difficult.
Well, you know what that speaks to, Pauline?
Mm-hmm.
That speaks to that menopause, or really everything we go through in our life, is not either or.
Yeah.
You felt the agony of the empty nest, and now you're getting to the other. It's also, it was awful. And now I'm going, okay, look at all the things I have more time to do this or that, And that's.
We had a really funny lady on here a few weeks ago. She has written a book called Grumpy Old Menopause. And she was saying, oh yeah, when my son left home, she says, I went into his bedroom and I had to see all the things that brought back memories. And she says, and that lasted just a few minutes. And then I threw everything out and I turned it into my office.
Yeah, that's great.
So what I did was, I was really gutted for a couple of days. I really was. And then I just thought, stuff this, I'm going to have a holiday. So I booked a holiday to Bulgaria for me and my husband. So in a few weeks we're flying off.
That sounds like a real vacation, a real trip. A celebration,
Yes.
a celebration of your new life.
I know. So it's how we're going to go on from here on. Just enjoy life.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. So how I keep digressing. We'll go back to this again. How for our listeners that are going through menopause and they have anxiety, your book is about and also your podcast, it talks about the joy of anxiety. So how can we find joy and meaning even with these awful menopausal symptoms and emptiness syndrome and, like hot flushes and memory loss and stuff like that?
Part of it is realizing that it's not either or, and when I learned that I chose my profession because I wanted to get rid of all my anxieties and insecurities. I said, I've got so many, I can't live with them. Yeah. I just can't live with them. But that was a very black or white thought, wasn't it? So what I did is I realized, okay, you can you can determine where your anxiety is coming from. If it is from a past regret or a future worry that you can explore and challenge and do something about, forgiveness usually is the thing. Yeah. Then you can learn how to be in the present with the only anxieties that come up. I mean, there is some anxiety in the present, the fight or flight syndrome, but we can learn to be in the present through meditation and tapping and journaling and writing. And so we say, okay, yeah, I've got this anxiety and I hate these symptoms, but I also know that when I get through this stage of my life, that I'm going to be able to take care of myself instead of all those people that I've been taking care of in the first part of my life. We mother, we nurture, we parent, we do all that. And we take care of everybody else but us. Yeah. Once we get through that change, that transition, it's time for us to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's joy in that. We find more meaning. We can find more meaning. Mm-hmm. Find out what we're going to do. So one day, for example, you could say, we go back to, we always want to say, one day you feel like you want to choke the life out of your husband. Okay. But at the same time, you can go, but later today I get to go see my grandkids. Mm-hmm. That's so exciting. They're two extremes, obviously, but that's the awfulness of it. Mm-hmm. It's also the agony and it's also the ecstasy. Mm-hmm. We have to view it that way, that it's not all awful.
Mm-hmm. In your experience, what are the main anxieties that menopausal women have?
Well, it could really be anything. I think they're most worried about their symptoms. I think a lot of women, not everyone, but a lot of women are grieving the loss of being able to have children.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying, well, no, this is actually a time where I don't have to worry about birth control or worry about getting pregnant. But menopause is a loss. And I think that's a lot of what we experience is grief. A loss of our youth, a loss of our, we get all dried up. We worry about our femininity and our beauty and whether or not we're, attractive to the opposite sex. So.
I just keep telling my husband, what are you worried about? You've got a hot babe in your bed.
That's right. She's hotter than than she ever was before. So I think, I think finding support is so important for all of us, mm-hmm. and seeing it again with a different perspective. When in the first stage of our life, we are so concerned with, as women, we tend to compete with other women for men, right? For a spouse to build a family. Mm-hmm. Now we can be supportive to each other and go through it and find humor in it. We don't find humor when somebody else says, oh yeah, you look at you're cranky because you're going through menopause. Ha ha ha. No, we find it when we say something like the chin. There was a quote online. I thought it was so funny. This woman wrote, do these chin hairs make my butt look big? I thought, now that's hilarious because we worry about that. We worry about both of those things. And the chin hairs come with menopause. They also come when you take hormones. I don't know if you've noticed that, but if you ever take testosterone, you will find your face gets even hairier than it might be. But so it's really finding humor and saying, okay, this isn't going to last forever, but these anxieties that people come in with, just reframing it as kind of normal. Mm-hmm.
And I think that when our hormones are going up and down and it is affecting our brain, as I was mentioning before, I had these terrible anxieties to wake up with a terrible panic. And I think it has to do with the hormone fluctuation, and it is affecting our brain, and we're not thinking straight. So
Right.
a lot, and as you said, if we get support, even if it's just a local group, or we have a lot of now Facebook groups where you can go on and talk to other women. There's a great one that I'm in. It's called Menopause Magazine on Facebook, and you can talk about your anxieties, your stresses, it's like some women are on there at like 4 a.m. I woke up in a hot flash and I can't get back to sleep. And I know I'm in a panic about this. And there's somebody at the other side of the world. It's maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon for them. And they say, oh, I know what it's like. I was up last night at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, we just validate each other
Yeah.
and say it's okay. And another thing to check for women is their thyroid, because thyroid can also fluctuate a lot, and it can cause depression and fogginess, which is part of menopause.
Yeah.
So that could be thyroid or it could be hormonal. So it's important to get a good workup,
Yeah,
a blood work,
really
and really
important.
see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us a bit more about your books? Where can people buy them?
Well, my print book, The Joy of Anxiety, Transforming Your Worry to Wonder in the Second Half of Your Life, will be out probably the end of October in print on Amazon.
Okay. And is it in ebook form just now?
It's in the ebook form now. I'm getting ready to upload the newer version. I've done some re-editing, so I'm going to do that probably today.
Okay.
So you can get it that way, or wait for the print book on Amazon.
And The Joy of Nada, a humorous memoir of self-discovery. Has that been out in print now for a while?
Yes, that's been on print and on Kindle for a while. And there's a whole chapter on menopause, and I talk about it humorously because I was kind of at the end of my menopause, so I could talk about it humorously.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because while we're in it, it's still a little hard. It's hard to do. But,
and again, that nada is the same as your dog. It's Spanish. It means nothing. Yeah.
it means nothing, and that is all based on how I grew up, kind
Okay.
of feeling that way because of growing up as the third daughter in an Italian American family, and had to find my purpose and what my meaning was, because I felt very redundant and almost like, been there, done that. How could another girl help this family that's looking for a male to carry on the name?
Oh, okay.
So I felt, I wrote it with that, that's kind of a double entendre.
Mhm.
But also then I found this great joy in this little dog I happen to name Nada.
Mhm.
So it's kind of my transformative experience with her and with writing about my life.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So it's been really wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to keep you to that about coming back another time and going through this EFT with us, the tapping. Because
Yes.
it's something that I have been meaning to. I've been on. I've seen Joe Ortner online, and I've done a few sessions, but then I got caught up with other things that I have a little bit ADHD. I'm doing a bit of this, a bit of this, a bit of this.
Yeah.
But it's something that I really would like to sit down and listen about, study more, and I'm sure that many of our listeners would be very interested to hear about it.
And maybe your listener can write in and say what they would like help with, and we could do a session and go through it together. And
That is a
maybe
really
help.
good idea. We could maybe even pick somebody who writes in and have them online. Doing this.
Yeah.
And maybe next time your camera will be working so we can see what you're doing. We will really need to have the camera working that time.
Right. Sure.
Uh-huh.
Sure. Absolutely.
And this time we'll just have your beautiful picture up when we put it up. Eventually all the podcasts are going to be put on YouTube. So people that don't have access to podcasts or would rather see beautiful, sexy women like us on video. We can have it
Right.
on video as well. I think
Okay.
I think a tapping thing, definitely we need a video for that. I'll just show people just now. They go something like this and something like
Yes.
this.
And what we'll do is I will set it up where I actually say what we're
Down
tapping on.
here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm talking like this, like a robot.
Right. Tapping up here. Yeah.
It's got, so that's going to be great, something to look forward to. And if people want to get your book, they can. And what we haven't talked about is you do have a webpage.
I do have a webpage. It's called thejoyofanxiety.com. And I'm also starting a teleclass a week from today, actually.
Okay, a telecom.
And it's going to be called The Peace Plan, How to Make Peace with Your Anxiety.
Okay, so
and
it'll be about a few days before we get this online. So can you tell us the date that's going to be online?
Yes, it's going to be October 7th at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, but you can listen at any time. You can listen live,
Okay,
or It'll be recorded.
Okay, and how can people sign up for that?
If they go to www.thejoyofanxiety.com, and that very first page, it will tell you all about it and show you how to register.
And how much does it cost?
It's $147
Okay.
for 4 weeks.
That's for 4 weeks. So is that like one talk a week?
Yeah, it's 75 minutes a week.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's also going to be a Facebook page so people can communicate privately. They can communicate with me and with other members of the group to ask questions and to offer feedback and comments.
Okay, great. So we'll get this episode to our editor, so we'll get it online before that begins.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much, Sue.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Pauline, for having me.
Okay. And just to let people know that we haven't been giving out any medical advice today on today's show. If you want medical advice, please go to your medical practitioner and don't sue us. No, Sue is here. Sue is Legacy, not Sue. I'm just playing with words. What I'm saying is everything is cool here, and just do your due diligence. If you like everything that you've heard here, then tune in next time, because next time we're going to be talking with a wonderful lady who's going to tell us how to be able to say no in a very polite way, in a nice way that won't offend people, and we won't take on too much stuff in our life, which we tend to do. Okay, so until that time, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Menopause Morph, your time to change. If you've enjoyed the program, be sure to subscribe to the next one, and please leave a rating and review on iTunes to help us spread the message about thriving through the menopause. To get a free ebook, more menopausal resources, and to connect with Pauline, please visit www.menopausemorph.com.